Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're prying open the lid on one of the most important digital toolkits out there for anyone working with data in the cloud, the huge range of storage and database services from AWS.
So let's just jump right in with a massive question. We all know that every modern application, everything from a photo sharing app to a global finance system, is completely powered by data. But have you ever stopped to think, where does all that data actually live? And maybe more importantly, how in the world do you choose the right place for it?
Well, the absolute key is to stop thinking of AWS services as just a big list of products. Instead, think of it like a specialist's toolkit. You wouldn't use a hammer to turn a screw, would you? Of course not. In exactly the same way, AWS gives you a very specific, purpose-built tool for pretty much every single data job you could ever imagine.
To help make sense of all this, we're going to break down this toolkit into four main parts. We'll start with the absolute foundations, which is just storing your files. Then we'll get into the engines, the databases that really power your apps. After that, we'll look at the heavy machinery for big data. And finally, we'll tie it all together and talk about how to choose the right tool for your job.
Okay, let's dive right in with the most fundamental category, the services that are literally all about just storing your files. You can think of this section as your digital storage closet.
First up, we have the absolute cornerstone of AWS storage, Amazon S3. Honestly, the best way to think about S3 is like an infinitely large, unbelievably durable, and super secure closet. You store your data as individual objects, and an object can be anything, an image, a video, a backup file. And you put these objects into containers called buckets. It is, without a doubt, the go-to service for almost any kind of file storage you can think of. Next up in our foundation is EBS, or Elastic Block Store. Now, if S3 is that giant closet for files, think of EBS as the actual hard drive that's inside your computer, or in this case, inside your cloud server. This is where the server's operating system lives and where your applications are installed. It's a high-performance disk that gets directly attached to a single virtual server, what we call an EC2 instance, for the absolute fastest access possible.
And rounding out our foundation is EFS, the Elastic File System. This one solves a really common problem. What do you do when you have a bunch of servers that all need to read and write to the same files at the same time? Well, EFS acts just like a shared network drive. It's absolutely perfect for things like a content management system or any kind of shared application files.
So here's the crucial takeaway. You've got S3 for storing whole files, or objects, that you access from anywhere online. You have EBS, which is a dedicated private hard drive for one server, and then you have EFS, which is a shared folder that many servers can get to at once. 3 different tools for 3 totally different jobs.
All right, so we've got our file storage foundation sorted. Let's move up the stack a bit. Now we need the engines. These are the specialized databases that don't just sit there storing data, they actively manage it to make our applications work.
We're going to start with a real classic, Amazon RDS, the Relational Database Service. If your application needs a traditional database with structured tables, rows, and columns, things like MySQL or Postgres, then RDS is going to be your best friend. The big idea here is simple. AWS handles all the boring, tedious management stuff, like patching, backups, and scaling, so you can just focus on building your app.
Now, what's really cool about this next service is its core promise, just raw, incredible speed. We're talking about performance that is consistently measured in single-digit milliseconds, and it stays that fast no matter how ridiculously big your application gets.
And this is Amazon DynamoDB. It's a completely different kind of beast from RDS. It's what we call a NoSQL database. So, instead of rigid tables and rows, think of it more like a massive digital filing cabinet where you can look up any item instantly with its unique key. It's serverless, it scales automatically, and it's built for those apps that need huge scale and instant response times, like a real-time gaming leaderboard or a chat app.
Next in our engine room is DocumentDB. This is for all you developers out there who need way more flexibility than a traditional database gives you. It stores data in these flexible, self-contained documents. It's kind of like storing individual Word files instead of rows in a giant spreadsheet. This makes it super powerful for things like product catalogs or user profiles, where the information for each item might look a little bit different.
But what if even a few milliseconds is just too slow? For that, you've got MemoryDB for Redis. By keeping all of the data in your server's RAM, its memory, instead of on a disk, it delivers just mind-bendingly fast performance. We're not talking milliseconds anymore, we're talking microseconds.
This makes it the ultimate choice for caching data or for features that need the absolute lowest latency you can get.
So, we've seen databases for structured data, flexible data, and super fast data. But what if the most important thing isn't the data itself, but the relationships between all the different pieces of data?
That's exactly where Amazon Neptune comes in. It's a graph database, a specialized engine built from the ground up to map and understand complex connections. Think about a social network, asking questions like, who are the friends of my friends? Or a fraud detection system. How is this new transaction connected to known fraud? Neptune is the perfect tool for answering exactly those kinds of questions.
All right, we've covered file storage and the databases that run our apps. Now it's time to bring in the heavy machinery, the big tools designed for analyzing massive data sets and for the logistics of just moving all that data around.
Meet Amazon Redshift, which is your data warehouse in the cloud. Now, while a database like RDS is great for running your live application right now, a data warehouse is all about looking back. It gathers historical data from all over your business into one single place. It's built to handle petabytes of data, that's thousands of terabytes, and run complex analytical queries incredibly fast. This is what powers all those business intelligence dashboards and lets you ask the really big, complicated questions of your data. Okay, but what if you already have a database running in your own data center? How do you get it into AWS? Well, that's exactly what DMS is for. You can think of it as the essential moving truck for your databases. It lets you migrate them to the cloud safely and with very little downtime, even if you're switching from one kind of database to another.
And finally, for moving huge collections of files instead of databases, we have AWS Data Sync. Think of this one as a high-speed automated conveyor belt for your data. It makes it super simple and fast to move enormous volumes of files from your own servers into AWS storage like S3, whether you're doing it for backups, for archiving, or for analysis.
Phew, we've unpacked the entire toolkit. We've seen storage for files, engines for apps, and the heavy machinery for big data. So now, for the most important part, how do you actually pick the right one? Let's bring it all together.
And this slide right here lays it all out, our entire toolkit in a single view. Need a place to just store files? That's S3. Need a dedicated hard drive for your server? That's EBS. Need to share files between servers? EFS is your friend. When you're building an app, you can start with a traditional managed SQL database with RDS, or go for the insane speed and scale of DynamoDB. For flexible JSON-style data, you've got DocumentDB, and for microsecond speed, there's MemoryDB. If you need to understand the connections in your data, you grab the graph power of Neptune. And finally, to analyze all that historical data, you've got your Redshift data warehouse. It's really all about matching the specific need to the perfect tool.
And that is our tour of the AWS Data Storage and Database Toolkit. We've seen the right tool for storing your files, for powering your applications, for analyzing massive data sets, and for understanding all the connections within them. So now that you have the toolkit, the only real question left is, what are you going to build?